Gentleness is something that is not commonly emphasized in our culture. We like focusing instead on strength and virility and power, but we don't really like focusing on gentleness as much. And yet, it's listed here in Paul's letter to the Galatians as a very important fruit of the Spirit. And when the Apostle Paul writes about gentleness, I think he is not talking so much about this just being soft or handling people with kid gloves, but rather he's talking about an attitude that we have towards people, an attitude of love, an attitude of generosity, sometimes of even curiosity as to why they might be doing something differently than us. I think of when I was in Boy Scouts, we had this wonderful scoutmaster named Terry Hepner, and he was teaching us basically how to canoe and everything. And I have to admit, I was a pretty stubborn kid. Growing up, I was not the most pleasant person to have in that merit badge class, and yet Mr. Hepner treated me with such gentleness the whole time, such compassion. Even in those moments where I was trying his patience, even in those moments where he could tell I was not giving it my full effort, he was still willing to be gentle with me. And that made an impact. I'm still talking about it 18 years later or so. Gentleness is often overlooked because it's not associated with power. You don't get a lot of prestige by being gentle. There's very few famous people who are famous for their gentleness. But it does help us to live as Christians together, because we all do make mistakes. We do all have times where we fall short of our expectations, where we fall short of what we would like to be. And when we can treat each other with that gentleness, that same gentleness that Mr. Hepner showed me all of those years ago, it becomes a lot easier for us to live together and to grow together and continue to grow as a community. Thanks be to God for that gentleness.